So today is the Alma Analytics workshop, and I don't have anything specifically prepared. I thought I would kind of show you a few of the reports that folks have asked for recently, and then we can tackle anything that you guys are looking at creating, and by doing it together, I can share some of the tricks that I know and make sure that the tools are available for everyone, because whatever we make, we'll just put in the shared folder. So let me switch to analytics. And as usual, I am in the Big Bend environment. I try and build stuff there so I remember where it was. And what do I have? Nope, not that. So, if I don't know who may be familiar with our analytics folder or not, but if you are looking for the shared Whack to Click reports, it's under shared folders, community, reports, consortium, all the way down at the bottom at Whack to Click. And then there's lots of folders that I inherited. So I don't know everything that's in here. But you can see there is quite a lot. There are reports that we've created from various open calls over the last year and a half. And then you can always kind of check out what it is that I'm gone down a rabbit hole trying to figure out in the Carly's test folder. If you're looking for iPads stuff, I keep that in the statistics reporting dashboards folder. And this statistics dashboard is no longer particularly accurate. And this one, the folder that says 2023 is the one that I found from Orbis Cascade. They stopped using the dashboard because of the linking in it, made it really hard to update. And we've got all of these in there individually. So just in case you're kind of new to going in and looking at the shared folders, this is the little primer, if you will. One of the tools that I like a lot to use in analytics is the up button, because I don't always remember what folder I'm in here, and I don't want to be like scrolling all over the place trying to look for it. So using the up button. The other one thing that I have recently learned that I think is nice to share is you don't have to open or edit a report in order to copy it. If you really want to make sure that you don't inadvertently change someone else's report, you can use the More tab and drop down to click copy, and then go to the folder where you want to copy that report to, and click paste. And here's copy up here as well. If you have your selection, and then here's the paste. So when you get to the folder, if you want to paste it in there. So one of the reports that Big Bend is actually currently working on is the textbook savings for students based on the textbooks that the library has and has checked out. So Amanda started this work, and I've been saying that I was going to go look at it. So I figured what better time to look at it since I had a bins idea, and that's an advanced analytics topic, to share it during this workshop. Amanda, did you have it saved in one of your folders or?
I think it's in reports, yeah. Guess that's where I remember putting it.
Putting it? Okay. um, do, do, do. Named textbooks, perhaps?
Yes, there it is.
Okay, so textbook collection.
Yep.
Okay. So Amanda knows the library. She knows what they've got. So she did this collecting the call numbers, the descriptions, the barcodes, whether or not it was still active or not, because they do have ones that are no longer in circulation but would have checked out. And then we've got loans and the loan due date. So this actually, because they use call numbers for the titles, kind of already works as bins, but I was thinking that it would be nice with the, because we've got all these ones, like that's kind of annoying. How do we not have any other numbers except one? Oh, because you've got the loan date in here.
Yep.
Okay. So that's only going to show each individual loan. So I'm not going to change the criteria, but I am going to edit the view and see if we can't get something that's a little bit more meaningful. So when you go to edit view, it gives you an opportunity to create prompts without having to go to the extra tab. And then you can just drag and drop. So one prompt that we might like is call number, because we do have that. They have call numbers kind of based on the course. But we can already see like that call number is weirdly duplicate. Well, yeah, because loan date's still in there. I'm going to exclude loan date. And I'm also going to exclude life cycle, because what I'm kind of going for is a real quick, how many times was a specific title, not a specific book, checked out. So then I'm also going to exclude barcode. And now we have things grouped by item call number with their description and the number of times that they checked out. You can see the prompt up here has gone to the not assigned to what is that, a holdings call number instead of an item call number. So now if we change that, we're going to get different things. But I'm going to hit done before I make it all crazy. So we've got art, music, journalism. Now we can check out biochem and
Hey, Carly.
mm-hmm.
Gabby, sorry to interrupt, but can you go over that call number as related to the call number prompt as related to the bins? Because I don't know that I know that part very well.
So I'm not actually doing anything with bins yet. What I had been thinking about was taking these titles and creating bins, the descriptions, so that instead of having concepts of biology listed all these different times with all the different versions, I would like to show you guys how to make a bin to combine like different values into like single groups. But right now I was really just kind of playing around with using one of the criteria that's already in the table to create a table prompt. And this call number is not the item call number. It's a higher level call number. So we're still getting the course number call number in the table, but I'm definitely
Okay.
gonna move on to bins. Don't worry.
So
Um,
like if the call numbers are very different or have varied over time,
yeah,
don't,
bins are a way to
okay,
combine them
gotcha. Okay.
into one listing. Because yeah, so we still have like item call number bio 100, but we still have all of these different descriptions. I'm trying to find one where, so like here we have two different environmental science call numbers, but they are actually the same book. Um, and so here's criminal justice. Um, here's one where we have two different titles under the same call number. So this is fun and it's useful, but if you were wanting to share out the information, sorry, Dottie is like begging for attention right now. If you're wanting to share out the information, it's still kind of a long list. So I'm actually going to save this if you don't mind, Amanda.
Please, I like it a
Okay.
lot better than the one I did.
I mean, I just changed the visualization. So now we're going to go back to criteria. And for the description, and this is how we're going to build bins to combine those titles that are actually the same but slightly different. We're going to edit the formula. And rather than mess around in here with a bunch of code, bins is a way to create the code that combines things. So we're going to say add bin, and I'm going to search, and I want anything that includes biology. We'll just, okay, so we have this concepts of biology, concepts, 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 concepts. I'm going to move it over here. So we have all these. I'm going to say, okay. Okay. And now I'm going to call this well, if I click in the field, concepts of biology. Now I'm going to add another bin. And oh, good grief. What's another one that we saw? Like
English. The English department has so many titles based on instructors.
Okay, so we have three different business English ones. So we're gonna do this one, say okay, and we're gonna say, Dottie, you're not making it easy to type. Okay. Do you know one of the titles that English has? That there might be multiple versions of.
Give me a sec.
You're making this bin, Carly, on the description field?
Yes.
Okay,
But I
so
could
that's like the
make
title.
Yes, that's how Big Bend has it set up.
Okay.
Give me a second. We're having internet issues here, so I'm on
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's been a fun set of.
Mhm.
Let's try literature.
Yeah, that might work.
Okay, so we've got several of these titles, and we're just going to move them here and say, oh, well, Okay, here we've got digging into lit, literary. That's religious, literary.
I have
Okay.
glass castles in there.
Okay, let's just call this one literary titles. Let's spell it right. All right, now I'm just going to show you what this does. It's not complete or anything. So it's not a filter, so it's not going to show up down here, so if you have a report that has bins in it, you can't automatically tell that. So now if we go to the results, and let's go to English, which is,
It's not on the list. So what happened to those call numbers?
that's a good question.
Uh-huh.
Well, here they are. So under English 102 Gutierrez, we have literary titles.
Mhm.
Under 102 Murray, we have literary titles. Now we have all these different faculty teaching English 102. So a different way that we could bin is we could take the, what is that under? That is the item call number and edit formula, bins, add bin, and we're going to say 102. And now we want all the English 102s. Now we can say English 102. Nope, I don't want to add a bin. I just want to show how this one works. Now, if we go to results, we still have all these individual repeated ones in here. But if we go down, we now have, and all these English 101s.
But we only have
And-
102 now.
That one must not have gotten grabbed because I actually
No.
spelled out English, and now we have English 102
There we
and
go.
all of the titles and their counts for how many they were checked out. So instead of this, so now we could go through and we could do, so there's multiple FADs 150. So that's another one. Let me see. And math 146. So gonna go back here, edit formula. What's great about bins is you can edit your bin really easily. So if like, oh, I missed a 102, I think it was close was the faculty name on it.
No.
It's there. Why is it? And it's there. I don't know why it wasn't showing up.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're gonna do these two. I'm not gonna add them to the English because that makes no sense. Now I'm gonna add one. And what is the name of this class? Do you know off the top of your head, or just do FAD 150?
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay. And then we'll do a math one. So all the math courses. Do we know what this is? Do you want me to add it to math courses?
AccuPlacer? I have no idea what that is.
Cool. We'll add it. Why have a random thing? And we're going to call this math courses. And now when we probably need to go to the call number of math. Oh, it's one of the ones without the lone call number. So we're going to go all the way down here. And now we have math courses. And all of the math textbooks are listed by their description and the number of times they were checked out. So we could
Can I
also
ask you a quick
yeah.
question? Sorry, I'm kind of in and out. I don't have dogs. I have a cat, but it's the same thing. So you're still like prompting for the call number, but the bin kind of creates a call number-ish
So
to
the bins that I'm using are combining items based on
description,
my
right?
own. Yeah, I've done it for description, I've done it for call number, and it helps clean up if you have data that is essentially telling you the same thing. So like CMST 220 uses two different books. Oh, I taught using Art of Public Speaking. And two different instructors, but I could bin CMST 220, and then we wouldn't have the different instructor names. We'd have the two titles and the number of times they'd checked out. We have multiple ECD classes. I could bin just by class level, like class number, or we could bin the entire area. I could be like, you know what? I don't care about these. And since these are actually the same, I could go into description and what's this called? Those who can teach.
Mhm.
No, thought maybe I could trick it. Okay, so we have, oh wow. So we have all these various ways that these items descriptions were written. And now instead of having them listed separately, I've selected them and put them all together. And now I'm going to just, so we've got a bin and we're going to call this those who can teach. And now all those various weird, typo written, whatever editions. If we go down here, we now just have under Education 202, one listing for those who can teach with 10 total checkouts.
Oh. It's a
So
little confusing, I'm not gonna lie. Like to create the bins is like an artificial grouping.
yes, it's entirely
Okay,
artificial, and it's
okay,
entirely so you can clean up data for display.
okay.
So there's a lot of different courses and titles for various English 101. So I'm going to go under item call number, edit formula. I'm going to add a bin. And we're going to do 101. And because the English prefix even changed, they're not even showing up right next to each other, which is really frustrating if you're trying to give a report to the English department. So we can
Right.
do English 101. And now we go back to results. And we scroll down and we should have an English 101 and an English 102. So here's English 101 and English 102. So creating bins is entirely a data visualization tool.
I think
It
it would be helpful
allows,
to like label, because it's still showing in the call number column. Do you think it would be prudent then to label what is a bin and what is not? Otherwise, you're looking at potentially duplicate counts, right?
you shouldn't be, because what it's doing is it's pulling everything we've designated as English 102 into this single heading.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but that's actually a really smart idea. To label your thing as a bin. So we've done that for item call numbers. And so if we go into bins, so I'm like, oh, I do want to note that I've created this bin. Now, if we look at the results, when we can clearly say, okay, I've binned up, I've collected these various courses. Here's another example of like a title that got entered differently. So we've just got some case differences. It's not even like true differences. And so I'm going to go into item description and I want to bin up they say, I say. And we're going to add our little designation for ourselves so we can see how this looks. So now if we go down to that English bin, we've got 85 checkouts for the title of They Say, I Say, where before we had 5 different listings of that. And all of those were spread out. If They Say, I Say were also in English 103, because your leading column is item call number and not description, it's still going to separate out They Say, I Say into those 2 different leading column bins. I'm trying to find an example. Well, here, idea. So if I change the sort based on that, that's all the same course. That's the same course. Same course. Okay, so here was that example. We did the literary titles and we took anything that was kind of like a literary criticism book and put it in a bin. So now when we sort by item description, yes, it's coming up together as one title, but you've got the different checkouts for the 4 different item call numbers associated with it. So if we change our sort back to item call number, and we go to one of those spots with, well, there should be one without. This is a really long list to be dealing with. There, so we have literary titles, 73 checkouts here, and literary titles under 261 with 18 checkouts, and English 102 has literary titles for 16 checkouts. I still don't know why this one isn't getting grabbed for
So
here.
that means that when you create a bin on a particular parameter like description or call number, that when
That
you sort along other parameters, you're going to see that bin represented
yes,
several different times potentially,
but not
and so,
duplicated.
but not duplicated.
It's just that this course had a title that checked out 16 times that fell into this bin.
Okay,
This course had a title that fell into this bin that checked out 18 times. Perhaps English 102 had several titles that fell into this bin, checked out a total of 73 times.
so it's considering the bin before the description because that's where you created the bin.
So this one is an example of, there was a bin on call number, which is the course name, and a bin on the description to combine a bunch of different courses and a bunch of different titles and give us total checkouts without having to search through and, highlight and whatever. Let me see if I can find another example.
I think a use case would be helpful, and I'm not sure who you were working with but in Big Bend, like what question they wanted to answer. Because
So
I could see, yeah,
so we were trying to figure out the savings that library textbook checkouts have created for students. So rather than have 3 listings, of child development, Amanda wants to be able to give like a really quick, clear report to, Tim, probably, to then take to leadership to say, hey, this is what our program, the library has done. So admin doesn't want to see like a million different titles. They probably just want to see education titles. Like, we've saved the education department or program this much money. So it's most likely that the useful bin for the visualization will be combining all of the courses of a single program into a bin so that the report can be, the communication department has, been able to save the students this many dollars. The education department, the English department, the math department. However, because these descriptions, the titles of the books, have gotten entered slightly differently, if we wanted to say, yeah, our copies of Health, Safety, and Nutrition for the Young Child have saved X, rather than have 4 different listings, being able to combine those and say we have 148 total checkouts of that title. Bobby says that he's created bins by loan dates, so that's another really great use case. Amanda, you want me to save all the binning I've done.
Yes, please, I'll go
Okay.
back in
We can
and
keep
finish it
working
off
on it.
later. Mhm.
Yeah.
I was so overthinking this.
Yeah, and bins are they are the pop-up and them and Ex Libris calling it bins is simply a user interface that helps write this formula. So the bins we've created are coded by this. So case when item call number is one of all of these things, then you replace the physical item call number details with English 102 bin. When, so bins is just a UI for gathering and cleaning up your data. So, okay, so I'm going to save this one. Yeah, it'd be a great way to like bin open ed titles. If you have open education titles in your library that may have like slight differences because different editions, and you just want to show, yes, we have all of these open ed titles.
Yeah, so can I ask a further question about the chat? I hope I'm not co-opting their session, but like, so we have an OER librarian who's great and has been working on getting OER notated like in the class listings at the college, so that students who are like, oh, this class has this required textbook and it's open education or it's free or reduced cost, is that's potentially something I could bin if it's recorded in the bib holdings or column or item information, right?
Yes. Yep.
Does anybody have do you have a practice on that? Like, how do you, because that's something that's like definitely report worthy. But where is that information stored that I could bin it?
So let's let's get out of Big Bend and I'll move over to your environment and we can take a look at one of those bib records. And we'll go to,
I don't know if we have it in the bib record. Do
call
we?
number.
Well, it's not, but it's not mentioned as an OER in the call number. You know?
Yeah, so if you wanted to do that, and you had like an OER printed textbook in the library,
What's
do you
one of
know of a
those?
title?
It's like an open stacks. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah.
They're all so generic. I'm trying to look.
Okay, so here we've got one. And so American Government, it's an OpenStax book. And I'm just gonna look at where that word OpenStax shows up. Okay.
It's probably in the bib, right?
Yeah. Not in a holding. Sorry, I did an item search, so it's being super awesome.
Sarah says publisher.
Yeah, so okay, so the 264
264, subfield B.
and yeah, okay, so publisher. So now I'm gonna release this and let's go to analytics and we'll just create a real quick and dirty to see if we can get all of the OpenStax titles.
Yeah. So that makes me think that because it's not just OpenStax, right? But
Yeah,
so
but you could start with that.
figuring out a way to, like, with the work that the other librarian is doing, um, to actually modify the bib holdings or item records in conjunction with whatever work she's doing for CTC Link, blah, blah, blah. And then I would be able to pull, or I'd be able to bid the OER stuff in our collection better.
Yeah, okay. So we're looking at titles because we need that bibliographic information, and we wanted publisher. Okay, and then we're gonna do title and we're gonna do subject just because I want to have some stuff in here. And I'm gonna do number of physical items. And then we want number of loans. Now, you'd probably want to actually create a filter. So you start with a filter. So let's do that. So we start with a filter on publisher, and well, Hindawi's open, isn't it? It's not an OER though. So let's try. And this is going to be like every publisher ever. So let's just, okay. So now we have like all these different OpenStax listed. What's another possible publisher for open education? Merlot? No.
Ay, ay, ay. Um,
Probably universities, potentially. But anyway, we're going to start with this and we're just going to call it good because you can dig in further. So we've limited the publisher using a filter. We have publisher, we have title, subjects. We're just going to look at what this report looks like. So we have all these different, and if we look down here, we're like, okay, well, there's two concepts of biology and they're listed separately because their subjects are different for some reason. And there's two listings for algebra and trigonometry. So now we've already created a filter that's limiting to OpenStax. If we added a second publisher, we wouldn't want to just get rid of this column. We want to show the number of OpenStax titles we have. So now we can go to edit formula, bin, add a bin, and it's quite annoying that it gives us it. And say we want to show rice versus not rice. So these guys are listed as actually having rice. And this is completely like fake, stupid, example. But so then we're going to call this OpenStax rice bin. All right. Now when we look at the results, our column has OpenStax, OpenStax CNX, OpenStax College, and then the OpenStax Rice that's pulling together all of these titles that are listed as with Rice in the title. Now we've got 2 different American government. We've got, a couple of different music fundamentals. If you wanted to like pull together university physics. Now let's say we want to show all of the algebra books together. We could move subjects before title, and now we've got these 3 algebra subjects that are resulting in these 3 titles. Or we can go into criteria and we can edit the formula for subject, add a bin, and I can spell. No, I can't. I'm going to say starts. Okay. This is a lot.
Because of the variety of ways in which the bibliographic information has been stored, it seems like, at least because we're a very small shop, that
Mhm.
if I can get it into some other part of the holdings or item information and
It'd
still
be a
use
lot easier.
bins, then it might be a lot easier. We don't have this information in there currently. Is that thinking sound right?
Um, yeah, see, and I didn't even grab all of those in that bin. You could add a local fielder note in the MARC record, but you then need to work with Ex Libris to get that local field added to analytics, because we have
Oh,
in
crap. Okay.
yeah, so we've got local note is already included. So there's one. But then where is it? Let me search it. I know. What is it? What's it called? Yeah, there's somewhere in here. Active course. Page. Bobby, I feel like you would know this. Where the extra field.
Which one?
There's somewhere in analytics, there's when you open up, there's like customizable bib fields that you can choose. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay.
Are you talking about like
I thought it
anything
was in
that come to
Bidley
mind is
graphic
local
tails because it's a
parameters?
mark field. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry, you guys talked over each other. Where do you think it is?
Well, I thought it was in bibliographic details, but then he said it was in local parameters, which like would make even more sense. Yeah, because I thought
Yeah,
it was like a mark field, but yeah, like I think it's in a separate. Yeah, he was saying it's a separate folder. Is there like a separate folder for local parameters?
no, I'm wondering if it's not in the title subject area, if it's physical item. This will not be a savable report because I'm messing it up.
All I'm finding is that it's in bibliographic details.
Yeah, it should be called something like local parameters, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah,
what
local parm.
maybe Wacom didn't have it activated,
Or
They
just
should still,
do a search.
but it should show
sh-
up.
it should show up. You just have
Yeah.
to define them.
Right. That's what I thought. But when I search local, all I'm getting is these.
That's weird. I mean, they
It
show
is
up at
weird.
shoreline.
I know. Okay, I'm gonna cancel out of this one and I want to show bins for loan dates. Because I think that's a really much more like logical, like to understand the use case of bins, and why they can be so helpful in creating a data visualization quickly. So loan dates, we're gonna say loan date. And material type, and then we're gonna do number of loans. Now, we could go in and do a whole crazy like filtering and do a prompt and do a, like choose your loan date between this date and this date, or you can create a bin and say, okay, I want the loans from September 1st, 2021. Nope, sorry. Pick the right one. Is between. There we go. And let's say August 30th, 2022, 31st. Isaac's putting notes in the chat about the local parameters one. So we've got this loan date of the 21-22 school year bin. Now we're going to say 21-22. Now we're going to do a bin is between, we're going to say September. There we go. September 22 to August 23. And we're going to call this one 22-23. We're going to add one more bin, and we're going to say September 23 to today. We're going to call this 23-24. Now, all the other values, I accidentally clicked it already, but it was, there's a little note that says treat all other values in a single bin. Right now, all other values has no name. We're going to call it pre-September 2021. All right, now we hit OK. And we can see in the 2021-2022 school year, we had 4,000 book checkouts, about 1,000 equipment checkouts. 22-23, we had 5,000 book checkouts. 23-24, 5,500. Pre-2021 is all down here by itself. But you can see now, if you're trying to share this information quickly with someone, it is way faster to use bins to group loan dates than try and create a filter that pre-prompts it, because this is just now also this bin, because we created it under criteria, will apply if we create a different visualization. So I don't want a table, I want a graph. So let's do a graph of, we'll do a pie chart graph, and we'll use CD-ROM. Oh, but we're gonna edit because I don't, okay, we're gonna do, the slices are loan date. Nope, that's not right. I picked the wrong kind. I'm going to not do a pie chart because that was a terrible idea. Let's do a regular old bar graph because that's easier. All right, so now we're going to edit this, and we're going to make the we're going to group by loan date. No, oh. Okay, there we go. And dang it, why do I keep doing this? Okay, loan date up, material type down. There we go. This is annoying, but you can now see how easy it was to kind of do this. Now, what we can also do, because we're like, well, that's a lot of material types, and we really just want to show book, not book, equipment. So I'm going to go to criteria and material type, and I'm going to create a bin here. And we're going to do book. Graphic is probably also like a book. Manuscript's a book. We're going to go here. We're going to call this books. We're going to, so here's that create a bin for all other values. Now we're going to search for equipment. So calculator and equipment and Realia. And we're going to call this equipment. Now, I could go in and get all of the different types of materials that aren't these 6 that I've already chosen, or I can say create a bin for other values, and we're going to just call these non-book item. And now we hit OK. So we already binned loan dates. Now we've binned material types. Now when we look at our graph, we have this very nice, easy to read visualization that shows that books are still the top thing that Whatcom checks out by year.
Could you say that, please?
Yeah, because here's the other thing. So I did the pre-September, okay, so like, what was it? Material type checkouts by school year. You got someplace specific you want me to put it?
I think I have a collection development folder. I don't, you just put it at the top level and I'll sort it later.
Okay. Boop. Okay, so this is saved. Pre-2021 is so big that these bars aren't really helping us out. They're not showing us enough. So I think what I'm going to do to make this more useful is take the loan date and I'm going to edit this bin. I'm going to get rid of that one. So I got rid of the pre-2021 and I'm going to add a bin. And I'm going to add, where's the between? There's between. I'm going to add in 2020 to 2021. So we want 2020 September 1st to August 31st, 2021. And we'll call this one, oops. And you can rename these bins at any point. Now, I'm like, okay, cool. And if we look at the results, I didn't bin everything else. So now we have all these unbinned, all kind of extra. And I'm like, I don't want all of those. This is where you can do a filter and say is greater.
Not. Oh, it's greater than.
Yes. Wait. Oh, okay. So it's going to filter on the bins we created. So I'm actually going to go into loan details and add loan date one more time just to create the filter. I'm not going to list it twice, but nope, cancel. So I'm going to create the filter and is greater than, and we wanted to start September of 2020. And we're not going to do that second one. So now the filter has limited our results to the 4 years that we have binned. Our bins of material type have simplified the vertical lines. And now we have an actual visualization
That's
that
so awesome.
you can hand it to an administrator and they're like, oh yeah, I get this.
Save,
Books are still
save,
getting
save. Oh my
books are
God,
still
yeah.
getting checked out.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and then you can also change. So instead of loans in-house, not in-house, you can come here and edit formula and just click custom headings. And instead of words people don't know, you can just say total loans. And now we see that has changed to total loans. And you have this like really nice visualization without having to write a bunch of codes or create a million filters or have a prompt that requires interaction.
This is so cool, Carly. This is so cool. Thank you.
Oh, yay. Yay. So yeah, so thank you, Bobby, for, you know, giving me the example of binning loan dates. But yeah, so you can see in this example, a filter helps limit what is included, and then a bin helps categorize and clean up what's included so that your visualization is nicer. So they can work together. The other thing I do, I kind of skipped over it really quickly. So if you do the binning first and then you go to put on the filter, it's going to filter based on the new function, because what the bin has actually done is create this whole crazy huge function. So rather than mess with that, I added another loan date column, and I could have done it down here and just said more columns and chosen loan date from here and created the filter off that. But I created a filter based on the original loan date function from analytics, so that I wasn't screwing with my bins. And so now they work together and it's nice and it's pretty and it's easy. So that, yeah, I really like bins because, you start doing title reports or like subject area reports. So another thing you could do is, say you wanted to create, I'll save this one more time. Say you wanted to create like a report on the checkouts in your theology section or something. Now you could for, do you guys do Dewey or LC?
We are Elsie.
Okay. So, we're gonna do start range number and end range number.
This is interesting because I've never been, not coming from an Elsie shop, like I started in Dewey, to know if this is really reliable.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so start range, we're gonna go, what is religion? It's what, 100?
Yeah. Well, that's like Dewey, right? But it's like at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
It's in the Bs.
B.
Okay. Well, and oh, this is the range number. Hold on, that's not what I wanted anyway. These are what I'm gonna want to bin. So let's do classification code. There we go. So I want the Bs. And I'm gonna grab all of them.
I wonder, do you have to select all of like, you do have to select all of them, huh?
No, you can
Well, like you can't just do B. It's not like Dewey, like get all the 500s. You have to
right,
do
no,
like
you have to
B, F,
select
B,
all of,
B. Okay.
because the code is 2-letter. Okay, so our classification code is limited to the Bs, and we have our start range, so that's our numbers. And now we want, let's say, usage measures, and we're just gonna do loans. And when we go to look at this, it's gonna be awful, right? Like so many, huge range, ridiculous. But if you, you know, we could, here, let's, da, 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 da. Okay, so say, oh gosh, that wasn't what I wanted. There it is. And okay, so now I want to group BL through BX because that is religion. So I go here and I'm gonna bin classification code. And I'm gonna say BL through BX. And we're gonna call this religions. And now instead of all of that, but because these number ranges are attached to the classification code, we're still getting all of these different things. And I'm like, nope, I don't want that. In fact, I don't really care about those at all, but I want to keep them in my report. I just don't want to show them in this visualization. Okay, so yeah, so BF, clearly very popular, and that is psychology. Whoops. So now instead of confusing people, what we can do, because we're like, well, we want to add a note to that. How am I going to add a note to that? Gosh, I just don't know. So I'm going to add a bin, and we're going to say BF, and I'm only going to bin BF. And now I can name BF psychology. So it's a much easier way to rename things. So what's B is philosophy. Whoops, I keep going back to that other one. So I could
Just do everything else, really.
Yep. Yeah, and so like now I could go into this and do bins and say create bin for everything else and do
Not those two,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
yeah, like philosophy, did I spell that right? Ethics, logic. And now we go and look at results. And you no longer have a super annoying detailed report that someone like outside of the subject area librarian is going to understand, but something you can hand to a department and say, hey, it looks like our religion titles aren't getting checked out. Like, let's take a look. Okay, well, do we have all the data to like definitively say religion titles aren't getting checked out? Maybe the ratio of checkouts to titles is actually showing like equal checkout. So let's add some more criteria and say title measures, and let's say number of active titles. We'll just throw that in there. And now we can see the number of titles you hold in those areas. So we don't know that half the books in psychology are getting checked out, but like you got 3,000 checkouts over. And again, this is also not filtered for any kind of loan date. It's just total loans, but lots of
Please
checkouts.
say this again. Please say
Yeah.
this. This
Whereas
is so like where I'm trying to organize other librarians who work part-time mostly. This would be so helpful to say we need to review this area, right?
you have 12,000 titles between philosophy, ethics, and logic. Only 371 checkouts in all time. Clearly, that's an area that can be weeded. You know?
Totally. Totally.
Right? So these are fantastic ways to make your data visualizations really, really clear. So I am going to add a loan date filter for you.
Yeah, that would be helpful because, but what I have a kind of a question because I do come from public, like what, and with the pandemic, like what do you use for loan date? I guess we migrated in 2000 and when did people go to
16,
Alma?
16,
16?
17.
Yeah, so it can't be before that, right?
No, but there's some historical stuff that came over, I think. One of the other things that I learned in working in academics is each discipline kind of has its own like review cycle.
Totally.
Science,
You had like a a weeding
Yeah, I've got that
session,
somewhere.
and I took that to heart, like 8 years for some places or for some sections and 4 years for others. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of up to your librarians and your capacity. So if, like if you have a faculty librarian who is, for example, like the STEM librarian and they are, full-time 9-month contract and and it's not unreasonable to say this collection, like biology needs to be reviewed on a 2-year cycle. That doesn't mean that everything that hasn't checked out in 2 years gets weeded, but you might then look at what hasn't checked out in the last 5 years. And on a rolling cycle of 2 years, you're going to come up with stuff. So this is a title report. So we're not going to get loan date from this, but I am going to save it and I'm going to call it titles and loans by classification, and then you can add to it. Did I spell? Okay, titles and loans by classification. And then I'm going to create a new one under fulfillment, and I'm going to get loan detail, we want loans, and then we want where's loan date? There's loan date. We want loan date. And here's the other thing is another way, you can always do loan quarter as well. If you don't want like exact date, you can do loan year. But if we do loan date, then we can create the nice bins based on our own deciding. Like loan year is going to give you January through December. Loan quarter is going to be financial quarters of 1, 2, 3, 4, which is not necessarily your school quarters. So loan date gives us the ability to create the bins however we want. Now we want LC classification. We want the code. Now we're not going to be able to get the number of titles, I think, so we're not going to get number of titles under this classification code. We're just going to get number of loans in the classification code. So I'm going to filter this to the B's so we can compare the findings. And I'm going to do our loan date. I'm going to bin these loan dates, and I'm going to say, and I'm happy to stay on after 11. Technically it ends, so if people have to leave, that's fine. I'll just keep recording. So let's say we want loans in the last 2 years. So let's go back to, and we'll do kind of a fiscal year, just, well, no, let's go ahead and stick to the September 1st. So we're going to say September 2022 to now. And we're going to say last 2 years. And then we're going to add a bin for the 3 years before that. And so we need, so 3 years. Right. See ya, Isaac. Well, let's keep this apples to apples. 2 years before that. So we're going to start in 2020. And we're going to go to 31st of 2022. And we're going to say September 2022, August 2022. And then we've got all other values. So, and we're going to name this checkouts before August 2020. Okay, so now we have our classification codes in the Bs, our loan dates are binned, and we have the number of loans. And we're probably going to need to, yeah, but I was like, we got to change the order of these guys. And this is annoying and not helpful. So we're going to get rid of the table and we're going to add a graph. Do we want a graph? Yeah, we'll do a graph. And actually, I think a pivot table might be helpful. Yep, here we go. So we have before 2020, in the last 2 years, and from 2 years before that, which are kind of annoyingly out of order. And we've got all these different classification codes, but we know that we want to bin up, what was it, BL through BX. So edit formula, bin is equal to we're gonna call this one religioning. And oh, it doesn't like it. Hold on. Let's see what it does. Okay, so it failed. Why did it fail? Let's try again. It may be failing because there's already a filter on that column. Let's see if it works. Nope, it worked. I don't know why it failed. So now we know BF is psychology, so we're going to rename that. Uh-oh, I broke it. Oh, I probably not been. Okay. We're going to call this one. I'm 42 years old yesterday, and I still have to say psychology in my head to spell it right. And create a bin for all other values, and we called this one philosophy, ethics, logic. And now we hit OK. And now we can see that, in fact, the number of checkouts in psychology, pandemic years was solid. Last 2 years was even better. Again, checkouts before 2020, you've got much higher numbers. So, might not be helpful. But here's something interesting. Religion checkouts 2020 to 2022, very, very low, but we're seeing a 4-time increase in the last 2 years. So that might be an indicator to a subject librarian that there's a new religion course or there have been new religion titles added that are really useful to students. So that might be an area to dig in and see where you want to add. Because I mean, like, that's actually pretty good stat.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm totally thinking of this, like in your previous leading webinar or session or whatever. Just this as a criteria. Especially because the pandemic has just jacked so much,
mhm.
right? To be able to see what's changed since then versus, yeah, this is really fascinating. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so like these are ways to like ask questions. Um, I'm, yeah, might answer some questions too, but like this kind of data makes me go, well, what's going on? And so if we're seeing that, I think I would then go ahead and break religion back apart and name the sections, and get or at least, like do mythology, not Christianity, theology, and see like where it is. Because we did really group a lot under religions. But yeah, so it's fascinating stuff. I didn't save this one yet, did I? No, because it doesn't have a name. So this is um loans by years, um, by classification. Is that what it's in here. Yeah, so you can take out this filter, and you can see very quickly, because we put that bin of group everything else under. So if we want to edit that formula and say, nope, don't do that, we're going to do that. Now you can see all the other classifications. They got a lot in E. And this is where having the call number, the number, not just the classification, might be really useful, because E has a lot of checkouts, but in what areas? HF is soc. What is KF? Law? No. Education? Yes. Law, solid music numbers. Now, I am frustrated by the alphabetical sorting of this. So if I wanted to, I could, I believe there's a way to add invisible HTML to make things sort the way you want, but you could also,
Maybe rename the column headings. I've
yeah,
gotta check out and move on. Thank you so much, Carly, for not only using my my institution as your as your subject, but this was really cool. I really appreciate it.
yeah, good. I'm glad you found it helpful and that we could kind of create something on the fly that might help you. All right. Well, it is 11:09. So I can wrap up the recording. If folks are feeling like they need to digest this, or I can wrap up the recording and answer some more questions or dig into something if you guys would like that. Okay.
Thanks, Carly. We're down to 3 people, so I need to jet so someone can go to lunch.